Okay, we're going to talk about foot washing since shortly we will be entering the time when people recognize the Lord's Supper, or the Passover, if they want to call it that, though it's really not the Passover, because you have to be circumcised in the flesh to keep the Passover, according to Exodus 12, verse 49, or 48, somewhere right in there. Anyway, so we're going to talk about Christ washing the feet of the disciples, but the disciples don't wash feet, period. Not even Christ's feet. So let's find out what the real meaning is here, okay? Because most of the Adventist and the Sabbath-keeping churches have no clue. So I'm going to do this one pretty quick. Here we go. Foot washing is another SDA tradition and doctrine of men that goes down the drain. I'm going to tell you the truth. You're not going to like it because you're not going to be wanting to get rid of your tradition of men and doctrine of men, which was created by the Adventist church over, once again, they can't get the story correct. Only one person washed feet the night of the Passover. The apostles did not wash anybody's feet, not even Christ, because to do so would have been to get the wrong idea. If you're washing the feet of your pastor, how is he a servant to you? He's supposed to be your servant. You're not his servant. They get it all wrong. Okay, John 13. Now before the feast of the Passover, when Jesus knew his hour was come that he should depart out of this world unto the Father, having loved his own, which were in the world, he loved them unto the end. He loved his own unto the end. That's what a servant does. He loves his people. He may be the master of the house, but he's still, and he may be the greatest among them, but he's still the servant. So, John 13, verse 2, and the supper being ended, the devil having now put it in the heart of Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon's son, to betray him, Christ. Okay? So, all you Sabbath keepers, listen up. Judas is called the son of perdition. He's a Sabbath keeper. And he betrays Christ with a kiss. Do you get the meaning of that? He's going to be a devout Sabbath keeper. One of Christ's own is going to betray Christ with a kiss. And knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, that's Christ, he came, and that he came from God and went to God. Christ rises from supper. He rises from supper and laid his garments and a towel and girded himself. Now get the picture. Christ is rising from supper. He laid aside his garments. He takes a towel and he girds himself. And he pours water. He pours water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet. Christ did it. The apostles didn't do it. Christ did it. And to wipe them with the towel wherewith he was girded. It doesn't say the apostles washed anyone's feet that night. Only Christ washed the feet of the disciples. None of the apostles girded himself and washed feet. None of the apostles laid aside their garment. None of the apostles got up from supper. None of the apostles took a towel. It says Christ did it. Then he comes unto Simon Peter, and Peter says unto him, Lord, do you wash my feet? And Jesus answered and said unto him, what I do you don't know now, but you shall know hereafter. And Peter says unto him, thou shalt never wash my feet. And Jesus answered and said, and if I don't wash your feet, you have no part with me. And Peter backs off and says, okay. Peter says unto him, Lord, not my feet only, but my hands and my head. And Jesus said unto him, he that is washed needs not save to wash his feet, but is clean every whit, and you are clean, but not all. For he knew who should betray him. Therefore he said, you are not all clean. So after he had washed his feet and taken his garment and was set down, he said unto them, do you know what I've done to you? Now get this point. You call me Master and Lord, and you say, well, for so I am. If I, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, so you ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you should do as I have done unto you. Verily, verily, I say unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord, neither he that is sent greater than him that sent him. Happy are you if you know these things, happy are you if you do them. So what he's saying is, I've set you an example. I'm your Lord and I'm your Master, and I have washed the feet of my disciples. So you apostles, you should wash the feet of your disciples. They didn't then get up and all take out buckets and wash it all, and everybody wash each other's feet. That's not what happened. It was left there. Christ had set the example that he washed the feet of the disciples. So those who have disciples, the ministers, ought to wash the feet of their disciples. It doesn't say anything about everybody getting up and getting buckets and washing the feet of each other. First of all, from a practical standpoint, there are many places in the world that would not have enough water. You can't have hundreds of people getting buckets and water and washing feet and towels. That's not anywhere intended in the scripture. It's intended that the ministers learn to be a servant of the people and act like a servant of the people instead of an arrogant know-it-all. The entire point being made here is that the ministers should wash the feet of their disciples, not hundreds or thousands getting out buckets and washing one another's feet, and certainly not the disciples, that the disciples were to wash the feet of their ministers. Why can't the Sabbath keepers get the simplest thing correct? The point of the whole story of Christ is Christ, who is Lord and Master, washed the feet of the disciples. So those who are ministers, pastors, priests, bishops, and pope should wash the feet of their disciples. It wasn't that thousands of buckets of water should be used so everyone can wash feet. It was that the leaders should wash the feet, not the disciples. Another Adventist doctrine of men goes down the drain.